Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Aamir,
Salman,
And Shara.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
Hi and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Bernie. I'm joined with my lovely co-host Amrita and Sujoy. Hey Amrita, hey Sujoy.
Namaskar.
Sanskari Sujoy is in the house.
I'm in my 70s era now. So
No, it's not 70s. Just because you know that I'm recording now. Abse pehle kya hua hai, hame pata hai. We have to live through that.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's like cussing and then Vodafone ko tha, tum logo ko nahi, like we get you.
तुम्हारे लिए सिर्फ प्यार है यार.
Yeah. Amrita, Sujoy ne record कायम किया F-bombs का last episode, by the way. Like I don't know what he was going through. It's just like...
Yeah. What were we talking about? Baby John.
Okay. It's justified. Justified. What are we doing this episode? This is our hangout episode. We're going to hang out, talk about a few things up and down. It's basically the last one before we start our Dhamaka 80s series. After this, it's going to be the 80s. We've picked our 15 movies, 10 that we picked, 5 that our patrons picked. And it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. 80s, man. क्या वक्त था, 97 नहीं था, मगर 80s था.
क्या समा था. What were the lyrics from Cars?
I've never seen Cars. So
Oh, wow. You guys should see Sujoy's face right now.
But we will...
there is a clip of Biswa on a panel. I can't remember with whom. So he was talking about movies and he was like, I grew up in a very academic background. In my house, we didn't really watch movies. I still haven't watched Sholay. And oh my God, what's happening in Odisha in the 80s, 90s?
Yeah, but we'll talk about Cars when we talk about Cars. It is part of the...
it is part of the list, yes.
Picked, yeah, so it was tight, but yeah, it got picked. So we're very excited to do that. So come follow us on that journey after this episode, pretty much. Weekly we'll be dropping an episode. This episode, we will be talking about Caravan, which is a listener's pick. So if you are a 20-tier... actually, from $10 onwards, you can pick a movie. And the $20 ones can bypass it and it gets selected as a main review. So this was a pick from Turtle Pirate. I'll be reading it, her message when we start talking about Caravan. A movie, again, I had never watched. So interesting. But let's start talking about some random stuff first. I wanted to... Let's read a few messages maybe. And I want to also give a shout out to people in Patreon that have signed up to become Patreon members, which is always cool because it's hard, man. It's hard running this podcast. So we're really, really grateful for everybody that, contributes with their time or with their money. And these are the new people that signed up. There's a few people that actually stopped their Patreon, which is fine. I want to thank you for supporting us while you did. Times are tough, so I understand not everybody can do that. But thank you to Seema J, Carlo, Mandeep, Abhishek, Queen Esther, and Karen. These are all the people that sign up to Patreon. Thank you so much for being part of the Khandaan.
Welcome.
Yes. Sorry, I couldn't see your expression because I was going back and forth. I didn't notice that you were going to say something. But we also got some lovely messages. So let's read out some messages that we got. You want to go with Raza first, Amrita?
Yes, Raza from Lahore sent in a very lovely message.
Can I just say, when I got a message from Lahore, I was literally Amrish Puri from DDLJ. Lahore se chitti aayi hai.
Oh, Nacho! Oh,
Oh,
Nacho!
Ah, for one moment in time, Asim even liked Punjabis. He was
Yeah.
You gotta get me, Musa Sidwala. Like what's
Oh, damn.
Punjabis are still. Do they still have it out for you, Asim?
No, I apologize, but my apologies apparently don't work. I've apologized multiple times for my comments about Punjabis. I love Punjabis. My best friends are Punjabi.
That's such a Belgian response.
Okay, so this is from Raza from Lahore, who's been listening to the podcast for a couple of years, but is writing in for the first time. He wrote us a beautiful email. We all read it. We all really appreciated it. We love letters like these that basically tell us about how they connected with the podcast and a whole bunch of other things. I am going to paraphrase it a little bit because it is a very long message, and I'm going to keep it short for the episode. But Raza, we really loved reading every bit of it. He talks about how he is a 90s kid, and basically Bollywood kind of fell by the wayside as he grew older, and like life events happened, and he thought that he was more into cricket and Hollywood. But he says, there always felt a connection, even though I kept missing actor debuts and cutting edge directors. Finally, I figured out what that connection was: the Khans. Even when I pretended to be too cool for Bollywood, I kept up with Shah Rukh, Aamir, and Salman's antics. Whether I like it or not, and I love it, my childhood is not just Sharjah matches and Pepsi tournaments. It's also Karan Arjun, Bazigar, Dar, Gulam, Sarfarosh, Lagan, DDLJ, Dil To Pagal Hai, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, and of course, K3G and Mohabbatein. So when I finally admitted that Bollywood means something to me and got into podcasts during COVID, it was natural that I found Khandaan podcast. And after listening to all these episodes, I want to offer a profound thanks to all three of you. All my love, gratitude, and warmth for all three of you. Overthinker that I am, I kept thinking what makes this podcast the podcast for me. Then he says very nice things about our competition that I'm not going to read out.
भाड़ में जाए.
No, they're friends of ours.
Oh shit. Are they Punjabi though?
He's saying nice things about Sucharita and Rahul.
I love Sucharita.
So why does he keep coming back to Khandaan? And he says it's all three of you and how you guys interact with one another. I don't want to get corny or cringy, but the love you guys have for one another and for Bollywood is pretty evident. And I think I responded to that. I am drawn to empathy and warmth, and this podcast is all this and 10 times more. Beneath all the banter, all the bad news in the world, all the clutter of modern life around us, Asim, Amrita, and Sujoy seem like an ocean of calm and love. We listen to you because we feel the friendship, we feel the calmness, and we keep coming back because we love the Khans. Even though you guys have expanded to other actors in current films, the podcast is centered around 3 60-year-olds, and what the hell, that's amazing. What I love is what each of you brings to the table. I always thought Amrita was the heart of the show, Sujoy, like me, the lovable joker, and Asim, the empathetic intellectual. But maybe there's another permutation that works better. Sujoy is the heart, all capitals, of the show. Asim is the lovable joker. Come on, Salman fan. And Amrita is the emphatic, no-nonsense intellectual of this setup. Honestly, it could work with any combination, but I love it like this. Actually, Raza, you know what? I was actually thinking about this earlier today, even before I read your letter. And honestly, like, you guys don't understand just how nice Asim and Sujoy are. Like, they really care, you know? They're like sweet little boys. They're all like rough and tough on the outside, especially Asim, but they're like the sweetest guys. And I'm a stone cold bitch. Like, you guys don't understand.
I was just gonna compliment you for reading the line Asim is an intellectual and not laughing your mind off. That was what I was wondering.
I'm just like I'm still stuck at Sujoy is the heart of the podcast, and I'm
But
like
you are.
Raj Kapoor in Mera Naam Joker with the big heart and dancing Gina. Yeah. Oh
No, but
God.
you're a Pookie. You're like
I'm,
such a
oh
Pookie.
God. A 42-year-old Pookie.
Puka, 40 puka. Oh,
Okay, let's go back to Raza, who's like much nicer than you guys. So Raza says, like everything in my life, I hesitate to take the first step. I resisted joining Patreon for the longest time because that's me. But I will be pledging to you guys shortly. Not because that's how love is measured, money has its place, but because by taking this step, I will feel one step closer to my fave podcasters. That is so nice. You know, like we keep telling people like you can join even as a free Patreon. That's also fine. We do have content, like some content is meant for the free tier as well. We are always happy to see like more people join the community. Raza concludes by saying, honestly, I sincerely hope you guys continue for the next 100 years. I'm saying this for purely selfish reasons, of course, but I need you guys for all the reasons I have listed above and many more. This world, honestly, is held together by the love of a few good people. Someone smart said this once. And you guys are certainly good. You guys are the DDLJ, Sarfarosh, and Hum Aapke Hain Kaun of movie podcasts. And I love spending time with all three of you. Happy holidays, Khandaan Pod. Stay blessed. Raza, happy holidays to you too. I hope, like, it's already January. I hope you had, like, a great break. Thank you so much for writing in. Der aaye par durust aaye. And we're so happy when people like you write in because
Yeah.
it's always like when kind people write in, it's always nice, right?
And I think that's like we were talking about this on the other episode about TikTok not being a part of America anymore, and I was just reading something about TikTok was the place for community, and I
Yeah.
think with Patreon that's kind of really become a place where it is about love and positivity, and I love when new people join up in Patreon because they're so motivated. It's like yahan kya ho raha hai, like that kind of thing, and it's just lovely getting these long emails, and I just like also how people think about us. It's so interesting to hear, right? How they see us, because obviously we've known each other for so long. We don't necessarily think about each other like the way people, because they have to project, right? That's the whole idea. I think Amrita is all of those things, and Sujoy is all of those things, and beside that he's also Sujoy, and beside that it's also Amrita, two people that I absolutely love. And every time I read an email like this, or it's the end of the year, I start getting emotional how much I love them and how much they bring into my life. But yeah, I just love hearing that love shines through to other people too.
Asim just wants us to say that he's the intellectual of the group.
Just give me compliments. I'm a desi kid. I am lacking in love and appreciation. That's what it is.
We love you, Asin.
Thank you.
We love you. We love you so much.
And thank you, Reza. Welcome to Khandaan.
Welcome to Khandaan. Sujoy, you want to read one more from Seema?
Yes, Seema J writes, also a Patreon member. Hello, Khandaan. I just wanted to send a message to say how much I love this podcast. I was born and raised in Canada, and I was always obsessed with everything Bollywood. I had very few people with who I could share my obsession with besides my parents. And thankfully, I now have this podcast. You guys have filled the void I needed with your hot takes, film reviews, and discussions. I'm happy to be supporting this podcast, and I can't wait for more. Welcome to Khandaan, Seema.
So lovely. And I got a lot of other messages on Patreon too, but I think we need a system. Sometimes we get messages on Patreon. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to read them, but maybe I should check that, like reply and say, give me like a short version and I can read it on the show, because there's a lot of we get so many personal stories, we get so many different stories, and I'm a bit uncomfortable sharing them.
Yeah.
But our community is great, and even, by the way, side point, when you guys were off, I was actually going to make a reel about this, but then I forgot. I don't know if you noticed on Instagram, there was this function about say something to us towards the end of the year, and people could just write in a message and then I could reply to it. I was just keeping myself busy in Belgium. You guys probably missed that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But the three things that got to me is that people said how anti-misogynist we are, how much positivity we bring, how much we talk about Gaza and Palestine, and how much like how much our narrative counters Islamophobia and how needed that is. All of those 3-4 points. And I love that those were the messages. I really, when I thought I'll put that prompt on Instagram, I would get like, who's your favorite Khan, or who would you cast, the movie related things. But all of the messages were these messages. And I was like, man, I never thought that a film podcast would be a political protest movement. Like I like, and I'm not saying we are, but I think for certain people we're giving them something that nobody else is. Nobody's speaking up. Nobody can do it, because we can do it because this is us, right? These are things that are important to us. We're not faking it, we're not doing it. And the other thing is that we're completely independent, so we can say whatever we want. I have friends at the BBC that cannot say what they want to say about the world because they're part of a bigger conglomerate. We've had these discussions with streaming companies that want to maybe, host Khandaan and stuff like that. But we suddenly, when they go through the content, we don't hear back anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought that is so lovely. Like, I remember we got an email, Amrita, you got one about, Sujoy and me being feminist and how important that voice is and things like that. And that's why we don't want to hard sell the Patreon, right? But it allows us to continue to do the show and continue to be a voice for these kind of things. And I just, at that moment, I was in Belgium. It was like dark days. You guys were off, so I was kind of feeling like, kisse baat karu? Those messages were so heartening. Like they really hit. Like I was really happy with those. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of point out everybody that was on the Instagram, kind of sending us messages and all. So shout out to them too. If you can't join Patreon, follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. That's also a good way to interact with us, And we'll be doing more. Hai na, Sujay?
Absolutely. Yes. I must ask him to nag me through January so that I can make more reels, because I can't do anything without any prompts, apparently.
I just need to nag him now. That's the rule, which I'm good at. Let's get over to movie news, because before it gets too emotional, this is not a Jay Shetty podcast. Let's talk about a few of the songs that came out quickly. A song I absolutely love, and I don't understand the world on the Twitters because they hate it, and I don't understand what people want anymore. The LOVEYAPA song dropped with Junaid Khan and
catchy. Like, I don't understand why everyone hates it. Like, is it just because Junaid looks like he's in his 40s? Is that what it is?
No, they say both. One I read was both Junaid and Khushi are a chasm of charisma. They have nothing to give.
That's not true.
I just find it always fascinating when we look at the same thing and we see completely different things. And that I just find so fascinating about conversations online, because I think they look amazing. I think they're great. I think I have seen Maharaj, right? And I thought Junaid was great in it. I love the Archies. I think Khushi is good in it. So I don't know what people want. I think it's such a lovely, catchy song. I'm really, really having a lot of fun with it. You also like it, Amrita, right?
Yeah, it's a banger. And it's imaginative. Like, it is one of those songs that is clearly choreographed and shot for the TikTok generation, right? Like, it is 100% meant for an online audience. But it's like very throwback rom-com for young people. Like, remember when we used to have those? Like,
Yeah.
why can't we have that again? Like, I just don't get it. And the oh well, do we want to talk a little bit about what's happening around LOVEYAPA?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because we are the Khandaan. Let's talk about the Khans. Yeah, so I saw, I had just come back from vacation and they'd held a press conference for LOVEYAPA, and Aamir was there for some reason. Is Aamir producing this?
No.
So
I
then
don't think so.
Aamir just like crashed the press conference. I don't know why he's there.
They just ask Aamir to promote things because it goes really well, apparently. Like,
And then the first thing Aamir does is like, yeah, I didn't like Junaid's performance in Bhassad.
Really? Did he say that?
Yeah.
What an asshole.
He's like, I looked at that and then I looked at my performance in my first film and I thought both of it were like comparable. And I'm just like, excuse me. Like, are we comparing like Junaid and Maharaj to Rak? Is that what is happening? Or does he mean like he was cutie? Like, what is he trying to? And also, like, what a terrible way to launch your kid. Like,
Yeah.
my God, that poor child. So anyway, he's like sitting there going like, and then the reporters and Aamir kept talking about Sridevi to Khushi, and I saw
Yeah.
that one of the reporters was saying things like, if your mother was alive today, how do you think you would feel? And I'm just like, what
a shitty question.
I swear to God. And at a certain point, like Khushi like got like progressively more upset.
Yeah.
And she kept saying that, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. And Aamir would say things like, yeah, I understand. And then like keep talking about Sridevi. And I'm like, somebody buy a clue. Like, what kind of shitty like people are these? Like, shut the f- up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Amrita's first F-bomb.
Aamir,
only 99 more to go to Marriage to Joy.
But Aamir Khan pe.
I get so upset about like whatever you feel about Khushi and Janvi, and maybe they're not the best actors. Maybe you find that they have all these privileges that annoy you. Whatever that might be, don't bring up things like their mother's tragic passing when you know
Oh
that's
my God.
the thing.
I have to bring up something I saw on Twitter this morning itself when I woke up, and it's something that RGV posted. So Ram Gopal Verma posted a video which is AI generated, and it's a remake of.
only those words are so scary to me, Sujoy.
You don't know what's coming.
RGB posted something that is AI generated. I was like, oh my God, what did...
And it's AI generated, a redone, edit of The Substance, but with Demi Moore being played by Sridevi.
Jeez.
And the younger one is Janvi. And the guy who, in the trailer, the person who is, saying the rules of The Substance and how the balance has to be maintained they show the narrator to be RGV basically. And it's like so bad. So bad on so many levels.
There was also somebody sent me a screenshot of RGV on Twitter or something saying how like he'd never worked with Janvi because she's not anywhere near as good as Sridevi. And I was like, is Janvi asking you to work with her? Like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah. Coming back to Junaid Khan, my sort of problem with LOVEYAPA, and that's what everybody is talking about, how he looks like in his 40s and all of that.
Sujoy is the enemy in our midst.
Yeah, I don't like it, guys. I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Oh my God.
And I've found the reason why. Junaid Khan, there's a picture of him on his IMDb page, the main image of him. He looks like Imtiaz Ali, guys.
Oh.
And that's not my hero.
Sal, actually, Sal, our friend Sal in the Bad Pun, Sal had a tweet up where she was like, she's looking forward to the new movie with Aamir Khan's sexagenarian son.
But I heard about this like on online, that there's this epidemic of Gen whatever gen he's part of, that they age much quicker than our generation, that we kind of still look good for our age.
Okay.
Whereas these guys, they're like 26 and they look like 45. And maybe that's what's happening. Maybe he's very much in tune with his
Gen Z.
generation. I don't know. I don't know. Like, we were just talking about Hrithik Roshan in Kaho Na Pyar Hai. It's what we were praising, that a boy looks like a man. I mean, I don't know. He's just like a dude to me, I don't know.
Yeah. So
He does not look like Imran Khan. He does not look like Imran Khan that has that boyish quality, right?
Yeah.
But that, I don't also think Imran Khan would have been able to pull off Maharaj in his first movie, right? So it does allow him to do these kind of things. So.
But I think he's suitable for Maharaj. He looks of that era, right? He, in my head, sort of, it's that theory that Raj Kapoor was born as a 50-year-old, and it's like that. Maharaj, Junaid Khan fits into that era of he was born as an old man.
That Simpson meme, stop, he's already dead.
Sorry.
Asim, you and I are boomers, clearly, and Sujoy is with it. So
I think so.
Are you gonna go watch it? I think this is a movie that maybe you could take your daughter to watch.
It looks fun. It looks like she likes Khushi. She's seen her in Archie's, and for me, these two things that reminded me of was very much the energy of that era of Jaane Tu Na Jaane Kya and Break Ke Baad and those kind of rom-coms. Mere brother
Jaane Tu Ya Jaane Na.
Yeah, that's the one. And then there's a Pakistani pop band. You guys probably don't know it, but it was called Doctor or Billa. Back in the day, They used to make these comedy pop songs. They were so funny. They had this song Purani Car. I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And I'll try to find the tracks and send it to you guys. They're very hard to find. But those visuals of kind of like I don't know how even LOVEYAPA, it's like very theatrical, right? It's like little sketches that they're doing, basically. They used to do that too, and it reminded me of that. So for me, it speaks to me. And I just like young kids, I just hope they're successful, and like I want the best for them, So maybe it is our boomer energy that we're bringing here, I'm looking forward. It is also a remake of a South movie, I think, right?
Yeah. A Tamil film, yeah.
I haven't seen that movie. I don't know what that movie is. So LOVEYAPA, it's coming out soon. It is coming out in theaters, which is worrying.
It's clashing with BADASS Ravikumar. Yeah.
So
it's a banger song.
That Taj Mahal song is not leaving my brain cells. I'm doing like it's so catchy. And Amrita, by the way, I predicted this last episode. We were talking about the trailer of BADASS Ravikumar. And I predicted that this was going to hit exactly where it needs to hit. And it's the room energy with banger songs. And I think Himesh Reshmiya knows exactly what he's doing. And I think this is going to be a big, big hit, to be honest.
It reminded me of... sorry, go ahead, Amrita.
I already know, like tons of people who usually don't go to watch the movies in the theater. And they all are just like, yeah, we're going to go watch this movie. It looks like a train wreck with like bangers music. And they're all like, yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
So, it reminded me of Bol Bachchan's song Chalao na naino se baan re jaan le lo na jaan re. It's that, Dil ke Taj Mahal mein dil ka. It's such a good song. Oh my God, what a treat.
The other day, they on the BBC, they were playing some old song and they put on Hookah Bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just coming to Hookah Bar, and my wife was next to me, and sometimes she asked me, what am I singing? And I was like, please, for the love of God, do not let me explain this song, because I will come over like an insane person. Like, how do you explain Hookah Bar to somebody who doesn't speak the language? But I think the lyrics were simple enough that even she understood, and she understood that she shouldn't be asking me, because it's very clear what it is. But man. Yeah, Taj Mahal is the same energy as Hookah Bar for sure. Second song that came out from Deva, Bhassad Macha, I think that's the name of the song. Have you seen this, Amrita?
Yeah.
Sujoy, I think this seems to be something you enjoyed more than LOVEYAPA.
Yeah.
What do you think of the track?
It's very Dhantanan from Kamine. It's very that, and
Exactly.
I really like how it is shot. Shahid is clearly having his moment in this song, and I love him for it. Yeah, if this is how they're selling the movie, I'm buying that ticket.
Amrita?
I mean, exactly. I also have the immediate flashback to Kamine, Maybe I'll watch it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best movie of the month that's coming out. Like, at least there's something interesting in it. I just think it seems to be very gory violence kind of thing, right? So you need to be in that kind of thing. We talk about this in Caravan also later on, because this is a point I had when I was watching this song. Sometimes the pants are too tight. And you should look at the color coordination of the tight pant with the color of the pant. And I think there's a mistake that Shahid did there. Because, yeah, it just
I think it's just interesting that I didn't look at Shahid's crotch as much as you did, clearly.
What else is there to watch? It's in my face the whole time. I don't know if I can say the things that are in my brain at the moment.
But समझ लो, भावनाओं को समझो तुम.
Saying I could not be wearing those pants. There's no way. In a theatrical release with that much air thumping, I could get away with that stuff. So I'm just saying, there was an episode of. Do you guys watch? Did you used to guys watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah.
No.
They used to talk about the pant tent when you're sitting. This is a clean podcast, so I can't explain what the pant tent was, but it created some confusion and hilarious uncomfortable situation, as is the case a lot of times with Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's literally all I was thinking about, the pant tent, while I was watching the new song. So yeah, a lot of things were going through my mind. I was just saying, yeah. Again, also because I just seen Caravan, and Jeetendra is wearing some really tight pants there too.
Yeah.
Which I will be talking about later on in Caravan. So yeah, just saying, if you are wearing tight pants, choose a different color sometimes.
See, so Joy, this is what happens when you podcast with boomers.
I'm just thinking, what a fine tailoring.
It's actually not. It's like, I know clothes, man. This is not good tailoring even, because it goes too much. Never mind. It's like, I could talk about pants like I'm that dye workwear guy. I'm just like the fitting of pants. Amrita, you want to talk quickly about Black Warrant?
Yeah, I mean, just are you guys planning to watch it?
Yes, 100%. Which Kapoor is this? I don't know which Kapoor
this
this is.
This is Shashi Kapoor's grandson. Kunal Kapoor's son.
Kunal Kapoor, Loha's son.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
So,
Not Loha.
not Loha. What Loha?
Loha.
Vicheta? He did Vicheta, right?
Yeah, he did Vicheta.
Let me quickly verify that.
Yes. Loha is like Karan Kapoor.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's apparently really good. I didn't really notice. I didn't notice that this was Shashi Kapoor's son until somebody mentioned it, and then
Grandson.
I could grandson, and I could really see the resemblance. This is like very early Shashi Kapoor, like from The Householder, and like that Waqt and like that era. Not as beautiful, but nice.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to watch it. Vikramaditya, right? He did it.
Vikramaditya Motwani.
Yeah, I don't know what it's about. I was literally like, even last night I was like updating my Netflix to see if it had dropped already, and then it got too late.
It's based on the memoir of this guy who used to be the jailer at one of India's most notorious jails. like prisons, like
Right.
the prison where they have like really high target criminals and terrorists, etc., go there. It's called Tihar Jail, and it's in Delhi. And in the 80s and much of the 90s, it was a pretty lawless kind of area. Like it was notorious for the things that went on in there. So this guy who used to be the jailer there around that time wrote a memoir about it, and it's based on that.
Nice. I think we want to do we wanted to quickly talk about it because I don't know, we're starting the 80s series, so we might
Yeah.
not be covering like content that is like that. We might do it on Patreon though. So
Yes.
let's see.
So we might
So-
do it on Patreon.
Yeah. So, but I'm very, very excited to watch this. It's also
It's getting rave reviews. Like
Yeah.
everyone seems to really like it.
And also just like I feel like there's been not good content on streaming, like Indian content lately. And we've got this coming out. We've got the new series. What was that series with the Jaideep Palawat, the one that Anushka.
Patalok.
Yeah,
Patalok.
season 2 is coming out. It's
Yeah.
going to be dark. All of it is going to
Yeah.
be really, really dark. But I'm excited. At least something interesting is going on again on streaming. You know, so yeah. So Joy, you and me watched something this week. We got invited to the press screening of The Glassworker.
Dear Vincent, I'll never forget my first day in waterfront town, when I ran off on my own and first came upon the glassworks. I had never seen something so beautiful. It was magical.
Which is directed by Usman Riaz. It is Pakistan's first animated, I guess, animated full-length movie. Feature film, which is also Pakistan's selection to the Oscars. It has been a mammoth undertaking. This guy has been making this movie for 10 years. There is no infrastructure in Pakistan for animated movies, and there is no how do you say, there's no, the audience isn't there. Like the audience is non-existent for feature film length animated movies, right? Usually there's this still idea that cartoons to bachon ke hote hain, you know, like cartoons are for kids. So this a mature story which is that long in Pakistan didn't exist. So now his studio is employing 500 people.
Wow.
And this Glassworker is one of the biggest theatrical hits in Pakistan. So it's been sent off to the Oscars. This guy, Usman Riaz, has done TED Talks. He's been making this movie, trying to find funding for it. He went to Japan. He worked at Studio Ghibli, which is a reason why the animation is very reminiscent of Studio Ghibli movies. And so we watched it this week, and it doesn't have distribution yet in the UK, and I'm not sure if it will get it or what they're working on, but we watched the Urdu version of it. Sujoy, what did you think? I know what you thought of it, but yeah, let's get into a bit of The Glassworker.
So I'm a big fan of Ghibli movies. Right, I grew up on it. I still watch it. I go back to it, and clearly, The Glassworker is also feels like made by a student of that school of films, a school of filmmaking. He definitely worships Miyazaki in a way, in the style of art, in the way the storytelling is. It's trying to grapple through probably the story he wants to tell with some sort of a fantastic quality about the story. There's a flight of imagination. There's flight of fantasy being taken because there's jinns involved in this story, and it's set in a fictional land which nobody really tells, and it's a very, very anti-war story. And I appreciate all of those elements coming together in a labor of love that has been made over a decade. by a single man's conviction to tell this story, and I like that's such a uphill task to take on as a 20-year-old, but also that drive to make that happen for a whole decade is just commendable by itself.
I can't imagine it. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine what this guy has gone through to get this movie made.
Yeah.
Like I give up like in 10 minutes certain things.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is like 10 years and
he's younger than us.
yeah. How unaccomplished do we feel?
Yeah.
Three people on a mic talking about movies,
Having said that, I don't think I connected as much with the Glassworker. Probably my own fault, because I pretty much fell asleep for like 10-15 minutes of the movie. I was
It was
really
longer,
tired.
dude. It was longer.
Yeah.
It was longer.
I don't know. So
I
I
know.
probably missed some certain beats, but this is a 2 hour plus animated movie, and I think it could have done with a bit of editing. There felt like it did feel like the way of storytelling was from a first time director, so it needed some more editing to be done for me to directly connect. I think probably that's because of how attention deficit I am at the moment. That could be telling of me as an audience, but I felt it was lacking in some ways for me to exactly connect with why Vincent and his father and this glass factory, why I should be rooting for them. I know I should be, but I just couldn't. And the way the story is told through these extra, elements, it sort of confused me more rather than make it all come together perfectly, as you would think a glass sculpture metaphorically does. So I can appreciate the effort immensely, but the movie by itself does not land as much for me.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, there are moments where the movie is janky, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, but the thing is, I can't criticize this, to be honest. Like, it's
Yeah,
very
I know.
hard. First of all, you feel shitty criticizing this movie,
Absolutely.
right? That's the thing, right? You want people to
Like,
watch
who
it.
am I? Who am I? What have I done
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be able to point fingers at this?
Yeah, the guy Usman Riaz is just like he's making his own path, so it's very hard to criticize. But I also get, like, there's moments where it's janky, but like, like, and he made this point, like, you make the story for 10 years, right? And by the time it's done, you're not the same person you were 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Your approach to storytelling, your approach to life, to what you think is important, changes in those 10 years. And it's almost, he said it, like, it becomes cringeworthy to see
Mhm.
some of your work or how you used to think about those things. And I think that's true for any artistic endeavor, but animation makes it so much tougher, when
Yeah.
when we say, oh, they should just cut 20 minutes of it, but those 20 minutes in animation took like maybe a year to make, right?
Yeah.
So I understand where you don't want to cut it. So I want to focus on the positives more than the negatives, because when I came back, I was a bit like, oh, it's this and that, and going deeply in it. And I came back, and it had landed on my Plex server in an English dub. And my wife and my daughter had watched it too, and they were like, oh my god, this movie is amazing. And watching it through their eyes, I was like, yeah, it really is amazing. Because I don't know, Amrita, are you a Studio Ghibli fan? Do you watch a lot of those animated movies?
Yeah.
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 So there's like this shot in, let's say, Ponyo, or let's say Howl's Moving Castle, where they're cooking, right? Where they're making bacon and eggs in a pan. Ponyo is making ramen and stuff like that. And it looks so beautiful and luscious. Usman Riaz does it with dal chawal and gulab jamun. And that is just such a cool thing, right? There's this Ghibli animation, but there's also Islamic architecture in the background. Like, there's a Vincent, but there's also like Kabir in the background, So there's these elements where, like, I just never thought I would see these kind of things. And if you're the one creating it and that's what you want to create, it's just amazing that he managed to pull this off, And even with Ghibli movies, they get praised and loved. But there's a lot of these, like The Boy and the Heron, right? I didn't connect with that at all. Like, I didn't go, what the hell that movie was about? It's Miyazaki, the great master of animation. And I think you and me, Sujoy, we're very well versed in animation. We watch a lot of this thing.
Mhm.
But even like I like Glassworker more than The Boy and the Heron. You know
Well,
what I mean?
maybe from the sounds of it, especially since you're saying that Isa and Sophia really liked it, maybe this is a movie that is intended for an audience that is not you guys.
Yeah. Not a
Uh,
critics necessarily,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
like it's probably meant for an audience who is not that well versed in anime.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wouldn't be able to pick out a Studio Ghibli film out of a lineup if their life depended on it.
Yeah.
So that for them, this is a novelty. This is something
because the
very different.
comparison is there in your face. You're constantly comparing it with the Studio Ghibli movie, right? And that's also because the way the animation is picked, the where he studied and stuff like that, the things he liked. But that's also kind of a weight that he carries, which I'm hoping in his next movie he can kind of be a more mature. And I think it's also like now the studio is built, the movie is a success, it's gone to the Oscars or it's being nominated. It's not been selected, but that's what they sent. So they've created a market. So I'm hoping that with that learning curve they can create a movie quicker for the next one. And I think that probably, I'm very excited that this is even happening, because I'll be honest, it's not even happening in India. This level of animation is not happening in India, right? And that's amazing. And the thing is, it's funny because just before I went into the theater, I'd seen the Skyforce trailer with Akshay.
Oh, why?
No, because we watched the trailers, right? And it's just such a juxtaposition between Akshay is like flying a jet, and then like the Pakistani jet flyers are like, who is this? And Akshay is like, Tera Baap Hindustan, That's literally a dialogue from the movie, right?
Oh my god.
And then here you have Glassworker where like, war sucks and people die, and there's like shots where they're literally like, grave of the fireflies in there, like this destruction you see the horrors of it, body horror even, and it's like, when all of that is there, I just feel very bad to even criticizing that there's some animation shots that aren't like exactly what I would have in high regard, that kind of thing. But yeah, I just hope people watch this movie and it makes a lot of money and it gets a lot of distribution, because it's amazing that this guy did this, so I just wanted to give a shout out to the Glassworker for sure.
I mean, talking of distribution, any news on Mola Jat? What happened? What happened, you guys? What happened?
I don't know, guys. Like, I think India pulled the plug on the last minute. Like, how many times did they announce it's going to come out and it didn't come out? I don't know what's going on there. I did hear something that. Did you guys? But I haven't spoken to you guys so long. Did you guys watch our friend Harun Rashid's interview with Mahira Khan? You probably didn't, right?
I saw like clips of it, but I was traveling when that happened, so I didn't see the whole thing.
What one of the best interviews I've seen in a while. Like, it's so good. Like, they're crying, Harun's crying, I'm crying. Like, it was emotional, it was everything. But they did speak about like Mahira has a Netflix show coming out, a drama. And apparently, I don't know if he said this, now I'm very unsure how he phrased it, because he phrases things very carefully. But the headquarters of Netflix was in India, the Asian headquarters, and they actively did not want Pakistani content on there. So that's a reason why Pakistani content creators cannot get on Netflix, because the headquarters was in India and India didn't want any Pakistani content on there. And how powerful the government is when it comes to streaming, like what they did with the Tandav and all of these other shows. So there was just no avenue, and apparently that has been changed now. I don't know how it's been changed, and that's now allowed Pakistani content to come on streaming
Netflix.
shows, Netflix and things like that. So
I figured that was something. It was something like that, because when the government started sending people to arrest the Netflix people, I imagined like that was one of the thing, because around that time, I forget what it was, but they were like Z had just begun, like Z5 had like started to bring the Pakistani things over to India again. And everyone was like talking about like how they're not making the transition to Netflix. And
Yeah.
that's around the time that the government started their crackdown. So I figured like that was one of the things that they said, that don't start bringing any of those Pakistani stuff
Yeah.
on here.
So I guess
So
that's what happened to Mola Jat too then. Because
yeah,
clearly Z was going to release it, right?
yeah.
And then suddenly it didn't. So I'm assuming, somebody sent an email.
I really hope that somebody out of like say the UK or the US buys like like Netflix out of US or UK buys Mala Jat, and then they can just basically put it on there, because I
The
don't know.
UK has no money. Like no money.
Yeah.
I know people in the industry that want to work in the film industry, movie industry. There is no money. Like people that have worked on major studio movies are freelancing on Fiverr. That's what's happening here. So it's crazy. Like it's crazy. There is no money in the UK. This country is going to the shits. Like it's terrible. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Mola Jat. The messed up part is nobody's even like begun pissed off and just released it on YouTube or something like that, like Lelo, free me Lelo. So which I get, it's worth more than that, it's worth like
Yeah.
that movie is so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unfortunate. I really want to watch Mola Jat again. I just miss watching it because it's like such a good
How
time.
are you going to watch it?
I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like maybe I'll just go to Pakistan and then buy like a print there
No,
or
like
something.
you can show up outside his house and be like, "Mujhe dekhni hai,
Yeah,
dikhao mujhe."
I have to ask Haroon to ask Mahira to get me a copy. Like that's probably the only going way. By the way, I was slight thing. I went to the Glassworker screening and I
Mhm.
shaved in the hope Mahira was going to be there. I was like, I can't look crusty for Mahira. She wasn't there, unfortunately.
And I came from the office and I slept.
Yeah, you did. But because Mahira wasn't there, you wouldn't act attention if she was there.
Bhabhi hai,
Yeah.
bhabhi hai.
Yes. So Glassworker, watch it, even though Sujoy fell asleep. Shall we get off to our main review, which is our listener's pick, which is Caravan. This was picked by our listener, Turtle Pirate. Let me pull up her email here. Okay, so this is also quite a long one. So, okay. Thank you so much for choosing Caravan. I absolutely love this movie. While there are a few problematic moments that are extremely cringe, overall, the movie is so much fun. The story is fairly simple, but the back and forth between the danger Asha Parekh character faces and the time she spends adjusting to the life in the caravan means that the movie never feels boring or drags. Jeetendra is both great and funny in this movie as a man who wears his heart on his sleeve and has some growing up to do. The supporting cast are wonderful, but above all, I love how much. I'm not going to read this part out because I want to make this a point on the podcast. She says the music is amazing. Song picture is phenomenal. I know we'll be talking about the dance numbers later on. Overall, in spite of a couple of issues that I'm sure you will cover, I think this movie still holds up really well. I deeply enjoy this movie and I hope that you do too. Okay, this also I'm not going to read later. I'm going to cover this maybe later on. Yeah, I mean, it'll kind of mess up the flow of the show, so I don't want to, spoiler it. But thank you so much for picking this movie, Turtle Pirate. Thank you for being a patron. And I will also say I had never seen this movie. I had never heard of this movie. It's directed by Nasir Hussain. Who is he? Aamir Khan's
Amir's uncle.
Chacha.
uncle, right? Chacha, Taya, I don't know. Stars Asha Parekh, Jeetendra, Aruna Irani, Helen, Mahmood Jr.,
Senior Mahmood
Manorama.
as well.
Yeah. Tons of people. Yeah, so let's talk about Caravan. Amrita, I'm assuming you know this movie really well.
Yeah. I mean, I watched this movie a bunch of times.
Okay.
It's Nasir Hussain. He's one of the greats. You're missing out on life if you haven't seen Nasir Hussain movies. He used to make like what Beth and I used to call proto-Bollywood. So
I
it's
feel this is a very Beth and you movie. Like
yeah,
I was watching it, I was like, this is all the stuff you guys really like.
yeah,
Like
it
70s
really is.
weird hairs and itchy
Yes,
clothes.
yes.
And tight
I
pants.
think, yeah. This is also the movie that gave me the ick for Jeetendra, so minus points for that. But the music in this film is like banger after banger after
Yeah.
banger. Like this is the soundtrack of my childhood. Like I know the words to like every single song in this film.
And this movie pretty much single-handedly launched the 90s remix industry, right?
Yes. Every single,
Every single
almost
song.
almost every single song, I guess, but
Yeah.
is basically was
A
remixed by
DJ
multiple
Akil, the
people.
DJ Akil career rests on this
Yes.
movie.
It was insane. Like Monica, oh my darling, it was basically there was a whole renaissance for Helen based on Monica, oh my darling.
Can I
Um,
tell you how clueless I was? Can I, like, this is the story perfectly because we're talking about Piyatu, right?
Mhm.
So I had no idea. Obviously I've heard Piyatu 100 million times as a song, right? Monica, my darling, and stuff like that. I had not put together that this was from this movie. I did
Oh, okay.
not know it was from Caravan. So I didn't expect this song to come in this movie. So when they announce, so the song happens on a stage show, and they announce her name as Monica. I was like, oh, look at that! They copied her name from that famous song. It's like, oh, then so, and then in the song starts. I was like, oh my god, it's like Fiatu. And then because I had never seen the clip, imagine my surprise when a mariachi bullfighter shows up.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, oh my god, this is like Buddon ki Sheila ki Jawani, right? Like, this is what it is.
Wow.
But then I was thinking, Sheila ki Jawani is also a Buddha reference. So I don't know what the young people listen to, Taras or something like that, like Buddho ka Taras, But yeah, what you guys say of the remake, it's a straight line, right? Like, there would not be Sheila ki Jawani if there was no Helen, right?
Oh,
So it
absolutely
is,
not.
it's yeah, it was just like,
Also, this movie is the inspiration for that amazing Aamir Khan Twinkle Khanna film,
Mela.
Mela.
Yeah, I thought of Mela too. Yeah, especially at that Asha Parekh song,
I
right?
knew I
Mhm.
knew that Asim had definitely seen Mela, even if he had
Yeah.
never heard of Karma.
See the way I reference, my references are going from Mela to Caravan to Sheila Ki Jawani to Taras. Like yeah, that's how my brain works. So yeah.
Yeah.
So Joy, how much have you seen? Like how important has Caravan been for you?
I think this played on Doordarshan every week or something like that as
Yeah.
growing up, even if the movie was not playing, all the songs were playing. So Karva has been a part of my life growing up, like pretty much in my early, formative years. Obviously, you lost touch when all the Khans appeared in my life, went on to do cooler things in life. But the soundtrack of Karva has always been a constant. Like either the original soundtrack or the remixes. It's been part of my very essential part of my life. And going back to watching this movie yesterday after such a long time was such a blast. Yeah, it was such a blast to watch this movie, especially because you can tell how Nasir Hussain's craft is so embedded in this movie. It's very much that aspect ratio that totally takes you back. Like this is before CinemaScope. This is 4:3. This is very much how Bollywood does, so sort of Hitchcock thriller, but with songs, with all these other family drama and all of that, and sanskar and everything. But yeah, it's so much of that, and it's so much fun. Like Helen is such an integral part of the story. Where do you get that other than in Bollywood? It's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've said this so many times. Like you said, the Khans, anything before Amitabh is very tough for me to watch. Like this is not my bag. Like and the thing is, like I've watched like while we've been doing Khandaan, I've watched movies like I've watched Dilip Kumar movies and I've watched Devanand movies and stuff like that that have been new to me because I've not really watched them necessarily. I didn't have Doordarshan. It wasn't kind of like we watched what was we had on VHS. Like that's what my Bollywood was, right? So a lot of these I haven't seen. So for me, it's a struggle watching these movies because they're very of their era, and the things that you and Beth like, these are not the things I necessarily like. The itchy hair and the itchy clothes and stuff like that, and also just there's a very theatrical, dramatic acting that I veer less towards, right? But this movie just captured me completely. Like we were talking earlier about Kaho Na Pyar Hai, right? That I was on my phone while I was watching it. This I was not on my phone. The only moment I was on my phone was when I was taking notes, and even then I used to pause it because I wanted to see what was going on and how things were going. So I really did enjoy this movie, but it is very much that era of movies. So you need to kind of force your brain to be like, all of this movie is shot in one field, basically, right? Like it's one hill thing, and the whole movie has been shot there. I don't know how they showered, how they found a toilet there, and these are the things that I constantly keep thinking about. Because all of the men are wearing pink shirts, and nobody has deo, and it's these are things I think about constantly,
Yeah.
So I have to kind of like wrestle my brain into not think about these things, and when I do, I enjoy myself. So that's kind of my feelings about Caravan. Do you guys want to talk about Nasir Hussain as a filmmaker first? Because I don't necessarily have a lot of thoughts about that, but I want to hear from you guys. Like, where does this stack up in his movies, Caravan, and compared to all of the ones he's done?
Damn.
He's a legend, like a freaking legend. Even the movies that he made with like total weirdos is like they're like really good time. Like they all had amazing music. They weren't necessarily like performance movies, but they were just really enjoyable movies. There was always some sort of hijinks involved. Somebody was getting kidnapped. There was a murder. There's a mystery to be solved.
Yeah.
Something
And
or the other.
someone's there's a life-threatening situation going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that immediate threat that you can sense from the first frame. Ki kuch ho raha hai. There's dramatic music, and
Yeah.
As I said, like there's a direct connect to how Hitchcock movies were in that era, and I sense that. Obviously, that connect is a lot more pronounced in Teesri Manzil, which he did not direct, but Vijay Anand brought that. But yeah, I freaking love Nasir Hussain movies.
And there's always like a great part for a woman in it, even if she's just a damsel in distress, like in Caravan, for example, she's a damsel in distress, but she's very much the protagonist of the film as well. There's like things happening, like she has growth, she experiences things, there are highs and lows. She has a complete arc, which wasn't always true for female characters in similar movies, not just in Hindi cinema, but in like cinema in general. So yeah, I would say Nasir Hussain integral to the kind of movies that then came out in the 70s. Like a lot of the movies that you see, like the Amitabh Bachchan movies, the Manmohan Desai movies and stuff that came out in the 70s, they built on a foundation of Nasir Hussain movies. And Caravan is right up there. Like, I would say top 5 of the movies that he's made. Teesri Manzil, I mean, okay, so Teesri Manzil he didn't necessarily direct.
But he wrote that.
Yeah. Like, Teesri Manzil is like the best Nasir Hussain movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Caravan is definitely up there.
Yadon Ki Barat.
Yeah.
Like you define Bollywood, Yadon Ki Barat, right?
Yeah.
It's the lost and found story of the ages, and
Exactly.
Yadon Ki Barat is up there. Yeah.
It's interesting because I'm looking at his filmography, and he's a writer and a producer and a director, and all of those have been like classics, right? Like even as a writer, as a producer, he's done work that like is so important. I've not watched a lot of his stuff, to be honest. I'm going through the filmography, and again, it's that era, right? Like he quit in the 80s, and then he was producing a lot of things. But this is not the era that I'm very, knowledgeable about. Knowledgeable about. But I do want to pick up on that point about Asha Parekh's arc, because not only Asha Parekh, I feel this is a very female-centric movie. Like I feel all of them, Helen and Aruna Irani, get like a full arc, like which is I was really like amazed about that this was happening here. And I want to talk about that, but I want to talk maybe about the men first. Like, we're at a Desi Dawat, men first, because I want to get it out of the way. Because honestly, I feel they're kind of inconsequential to the movie, to be honest. Also, watching this, I realized that I've not watched a lot of Jeetendra movies, and maybe that's a good choice.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Like, when we're talking about LOVEYAPA, that conversation was happening on Twitter about a man being a vacant space of non-charisma. I was like, I'm watching Jeetendra in this, and I'm feeling those feelings here. I think he was terrible in this. Like, I thought, like, he's the weakest hero. And like, I remember people used to be really impressed with Jitendra's dancing, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's just because in the 70s, nobody did cardio.
And he was doing all the cardio on screen.
No, but not even
he
him.
was
It's not
like
even that
he was
much
literally
cardio.
he was literally known as Jumping Jack, right? And
Yeah.
But I think that's what like people just were very impressed with this when it's literally not much, right? Like, because and that people don't do cardio because there's a sequence where Asha Parekh is running from the villains, and within 5 minutes her feet are up, her head is blown up. Like she's ran 5 minutes. Like, why is she in that state in 5 minutes? Because nobody did cardio. Yeah, so I was really, because I remember Jeetendra from the 80s, like Himmat Wala, Justice Chaudhary kind of thing, and those were shit movies too, So I'm surprised that he had such a long career when that was the time of Raj Kapoor and Dev Anand and all of these other guys. Dilip Kumar was making movies, and apparently Jeetendra was there too. Like, it's weird.
But it's a very different skill set altogether. I think Jeetendra is not competing with either of those people, not with Rajesh Khanna, not with Amitabh Bachchan or Dilip Kumar.
Yeah.
He's a completely he made peace with that being, the Hyderabad studio output. Sort of, he made that his home and he was happy and content with it. So I guess he is never remembered as a superstar of that generation. He will always be the bankable small budget movie guy, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's what? He's like Prabhu Deva of that era, or what is he like?
No, Prabhu Deva at least has like one thing in which he's like amazing. Jeetendra really, no.
Because like even if you say jumping and dancing, I would think Shammi Kapoor at that time,
So
right?
it's interesting because Nasir Hussain, if you look at his filmography, like his first collaborator was Shammi Kapoor. Like a lot of the early Shammi Kapoor movies, like Tum Sa Nahi Dekha and stuff.
Jab Pyar Kisi Se Hota Hai.
Yeah, all of those were made by Nasir Hussain as a director. And of course, he produced Teesri Manzil, which I'm sure Asim hasn't seen, but also has Shammi Kapoor.
I've not seen it.
Sujoy is personally offended by this.
Dude, the penny that will drop when you watch Teesri Manzil when the songs appear and you will be like, this song is from this movie, this song also, this song also. Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Nasir Hussain, like, just because he worked so much with Shammi Kapoor, and Shammi Kapoor was very much like his image was that of Elvis Presley of India, right? Like that was the image that he was leaning into. And that sort of led Nasir Hussain down the path of the kind of music that he showcased in his films. which is always, there was a cabaret element, there was a stage element, there was some sort of rock and roll stuff happening. And even the later movies, when he was not working with Shami Kapoor, or when Shami wasn't working, to be more precise, the people that he worked with, including Jeetendra, they had to fit into that sort of context. And that definitely, I think, helped Jeetendra build, like a movie like this, like Caravan, helped him build that reputation as like somebody who is also quite cool and with it with regards to dancing. When, to be fair, like if you look at Jitendra's dancing in this film, it's very clear that he can't dance. Like, it's not like he's doing like this weird choreo. No, it's not good.
Yeah.
Who is the choreographer in this movie? Is it PL Raj?
I think so.
Let me check.
What also, like, this movie starts immediately, which I found so fascinating. Like, it's full on. Like, I was like, whoa, what's going on? There's no intro. It's just like a, speeding train, just catch it. And that was my first thought. And the second thought I had is, who is this horrible actor that's playing the villain? Because I had no clue. I've never literally seen him.
No, that guy's a random.
Is he a random? Like, such a big role for a random dude, I was like, who is this guy? Where did he get selected? And apparently he became an assistant director later on. But all of that is almost not explained, right? Like, it's just like goes really, really quickly. Then the other roles are probably Mahmood Jr. We have to talk about a little bit, I guess, right? I'm just going through all of the men so we can get to the women. Mahmood, can we explain the phenomenon of Mahmood Jr.? Because I don't think people would understand it necessarily. No, you know what I mean? We're not talking to the filmy ladies or, the Masala Zindabad audience. We're talking to the Khandaan audience. Amrita, can you explain the Mahmood Jr. phenomenon?
It's not the Mahmood Jr. phenomenon in particular. It's just, in every era, there's always a child actor, and it's true across industries. You'll find it even in Hollywood. You had your Judy Garland, Mickey Rourke. You had the Culkins. You have in India, you had the what's his name, Bhassad, the Kuch Kuch Hota Hai boy. And then you have
Baby Guddu.
Yeah, Baby Guddu. There was Sarika. Like, these were all like people who, or like the Irani sisters, like Daisy Irani, like, was a huge deal. And these are, I don't know why. I guess we three are sort of outliers because we just look at children on film and we are just like, gande bacche, we don't want to see it. But most people seem to enjoy it. They're just like, oh yeah, we like to see like precocious children doing precocious things. And that's who Junior Mahmood was. Like, this guy was like the hardest working actor of his generation. This poor kid, he didn't have a childhood. You can find him on Twitter these days where he's just talking about the good old days. And
he passed away actually in December. In December 2023. Yeah, so last year. I mean, I just wanted to say the phenomenon of Mahmood Jr. because he's called Mahmood Jr. when he's not. Like, basically, there was the similarity that he looked like Mahmood the comedian, which Mahmood gave him the name Mahmood Jr., which is just such a hilarious thing to do. And I think all of Mahmood Jr.'s career was built on the line, ये 2 number वाला है ना, ये बहुत तेज है. Like, that's the entire thing of Mahmood Jr. And then what I also was like, for a moment, when Bhola comes on screen, I was like, wait, is that Mahmood? Do they have Mahmood and Mahmood? But then I figured out, no, it's actually Mahmood's brother who's playing Bhola. Yeah, it's Mahmood's actual brother, which he clearly does not have the
IMDb credits.
Yeah, that Mahmood had, or the notorious Anwar Ali naam hai. Yeah, Anwar Ali is his name, and yeah, he physically looks a lot like Mahmood. So I was like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, what? There's a whole Mahmood thing going on in this. Yeah, star hai tu, superstar hai.
Wah Productions.
Yeah. Yes. So let's talk about any other guys we want to talk about. I think
So yeah, the whole movie begins with the guys, right? Because we don't get straight away introduced to, like, we get introduced with the chase sequence, and she's sort of met this accident that we are supposed to believe she's saying this from a first person view of what's happening with her. We're talking about Sunita, played by Asha Parekh, and then we are just dropped in the middle of all this exposition, uncle just telling everything. Yeah, Rajan kitna kamina aadmi hai, he's 3 lakh चुराए हैं and all of that, and it's just information after information, and you just like, you don't even get a room to breathe. You just,
this is
like,
the perfect movie to watch while you're on the phone, because the movie will tell you what you missed every 5 minutes. It's like, okay, I'm with it.
Yeah, so after that, I think we then go past the starting credits, and then Carva really begins with Asha Parekh in the middle of her escape sort of plan from the changul of Rajan. She has to go to Bombay, then to Bangalore, then back to Bombay to find Karamchand uncle to tell him that her father has been killed by this stupid man. And all the all the lovey-dovey great songs happen in between. End of story.
Yeah, and Karamchand is played by the guy that found Rishi Kapoor in Amar Akbar Anthony too, no?
Yeah. Khan Chacha.
Yeah, he's like random prayers in the park, uncle. Yeah. Let's. Yeah, there's a. I want to kind of get back to Jeetendra, because there's a few notes that I here had that I want to talk about with you guys. Is this where Tufan Mail comes from? Like the word, like Tufan Mail as a concept, right? Like, is this where it comes from?
No, there was a song called Tufan Mail, like in a 1934 movie, and I think
okay.
yeah, it's
so that's okay.
Yeah. I don't know that song, like, because it was a 1934 hit. There's a Lata Mangeshkar recreation of that song in an album called Shraddhanjali, where she sang. I think it's a KL Saigal song from like 1934. You can tell how old that song is. But Tufan Mail was an actual identity before this movie.
Yeah, because it's this van. I didn't understand the van. Is it supposed to be cool? Or is it like Knight Rider cool? Or is it supposed to be funny, like Ram Pyari in Akela? Like, what kind of vehicle is this? Because it has a lot of like Aruna Irani just plastered on top of it, and I was like, what are we trying to like do with this van?
When you go to like traveling fairs and you see Keanu Reeves and Bruce Willis painted on the merry-go-round, it's kind of like that on a
van, right? Yeah. So it's like basically Jeetendra and his friend, who's basically a drunk, right? Like that's the big comedy that they have. And I was like, man, in the 70s, people must have loved this stuff, right? Like the guy getting drunk. Like they were like, wow, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. Jeetendra mixing English with Hindi, like, oh my God, comedic, peak of everything. Those things are dated, man. Those are very hard for me to...
But also, like, Aamir does that in Raja Hindustani as well, right?
Yeah, it's also not funny there. Yeah. I think we made a point to tell during the review that it was terrible and not funny. But yeah, so... Yeah, let's get into the Asha Parekh of it. Because initially I had trouble with the character, to be honest. It's like, who is she at the start? Because she just goes crazy after her father is killed, right? Or she thinks he's died. And I was having trouble, like, who is this woman? Because she's like, she goes crazy. She screams at Uncle Karamchand. And then everybody's like, iski shaadi karwa do, theek ho jayegi. Like, you get her married, she'll be fine. And the weird part is she does become fine after the marriage. Like after the marriage to the crazy bad guy, she's totally fine. She's like a normal Asha Parekh. But she's already signed away a power of attorney that nobody asked her to do.
Yeah.
Like along the way, the villain, everybody makes his life so easy. Like the police is like, we don't know. She's gone. She's dead. We don't know. We don't care. It's like Asha Parekh just gives him the power of attorney. Like Monica just hands him over the note. It's like, who is this guy? Everybody's making his life easy. Maybe it's like an idea of patriarchy. Like, incompetent men, everybody around you makes lives easy for you. But yeah, so then Asha Parekh is basically running away. And then she falls in love slowly with Jeetendra, which I never understood why that happened.
Yeah, don't look at us because we don't understand.
Yeah.
Because he's probably the only guy who has been nice to her.
Yeah, probably.
But the other guy is also nice. Mahmood Jr. is also nice. And
it
also
would be very inappropriate to marry Mahmood Jr. though.
There's a lot of inappropriate things happening with Mahmood Jr. Like I was like, is this guy getting groomed here? Because this is like really weird. She just met him. There's a lot of these tropes in movies that I'm like, I don't know. It's switch the genders and things become really weird,
Yeah.
But chalo. It's the 70s, And then Aruna Irani comes in. And
Man.
Her pataka pyar. Like, kaat dalungi, kha jaungi.
Because who does cardio in the 70s? It's Aruna Irani, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She is the jumping jack.
Oh my God, I was like
amazing.
blown away. Like, because I just watched Dil To Pagal Hai not too long ago and she was playing like Tai there. And seeing her in this, I was like, oh my God. Like, I haven't had these feelings since I saw, I don't know, Saif's mom. A while ago, I was like, wow, bomb, man. Like, she looks amazing. Why does everybody talk about Helen and Asha Parekh when Aruna Irani is just there? Maybe it's a kid. Like,
Do you know how Asim is a burger? He says Saif's mom and not Sharmila Tagore. Like, what the hell, Asim?
I just wanted to move quickly to get back to Aruna Irani. My brain works slowly. So I just wanted to say how amazing she looks. And maybe it's just the king that, the idea of, having a woman that can almost kill you is enticing. But I thought she was amazing. Did you see her? There's a song where she's like wearing these leg wraps. I'd never even seen what that was. I was like, oh my God. And like, her waistline, she had like a Katrina six-pack in this. Like, in the 70s.
Have you not watched Bobby?
Yeah, she has a whole backless song in it.
No, I'm not. I have, but ages ago. I've never. I'm not. I don't remember much of Bobby.
Like, Rishi actually serenades her in that film, and he's just like, "मैं शायर तो नहीं, like, लेकिन शायरी आ गई, तुझको देखा तो मुझको." Yeah, that one. Like Aruna Irani, like if you liked her in Caravan, like there is a whole bunch of movies where she's like the best thing in it, including Amitabh Bachchan movies, where she just like eats people off the screen. And if it wasn't for like rampant sexism, she'd be like such a big star. But I think Mumtaz is literally the only actor who was able to make that switch from sex bomb to leading actress. But she's amazing. I always feel bad for her character in this movie too, because she deserved a happy ending.
Yeah.
And they had to kill her. So that, that's the end of her story. But random Aruna Irani side note, one of my favorite Aruna Irani movies is a movie with Raj Babbar, Anupam Kher and Rekha. It's a movie called Sansar. And Aruna Irani plays the housemaid, and she's a Muphat housemaid in that movie. And she gives like this random ass, like really long monologue. It's so much like of that 80s Bollywood movie made out of Hyderabad. It just that, but like amped to the max. It's really, really fun. And Aruna Irani in this movie gets the best songs, man.
Yeah, my God. Like her songs, I actually like her songs more than I like Helen's. Helen's songs are fantastic, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I was blown away by Aruna Irani in this one. And because there's a sequence where she's dancing with Jeetendra in his tight pants. And I was like, those pants are too tight to be grinding so closely to Aruna Irani. No, it was really impressive. Like, I was really, really impressed with this. And yeah, Helen, was this already late stage Helen, or where was this in her?
Well, she's been doing movies since the black and white era, and this is like in the 70s. So she's been doing, like, Mera Naam Chin Chin Chu was a long time ago.
1950 something. It's when Mera Naam Chin Chin Chu. That was also a Shami Kapoor movie.
But late time Helen would be like Mungada, which is like much later.
80s.
Yeah. Because you were talking about choreography. Like, when Helen dances, is there a choreographer, or does Helen just do it herself? There is. Okay. Because the moves seem so Helen, right? I was like, like Prabhu Deva. Who choreographs Prabhu Deva back in his era? It's just Prabhu Deva doing it, because nobody can do what Prabhu Deva does. And I was just thinking, like, does Helen need a choreographer, or does she just do it herself, right? Like, when your skill set is that high,
I'm pretty sure they were choreographing for her specifically, the way that they do for Salman these days.
Right.
Ma or beta.
Auntie or beta, auntie.
Helen auntie.
Helen auntie. I mean, any favorite songs for you guys?
Oh my God.
So everybody will talk about, Sorry,
Go ahead. Which ones, Sujay?
No. Mine is reconnecting, it says. Oh, yeah, it's connected. So everybody knows this soundtrack is just one of the most epic Bollywood soundtracks ever. So it's very difficult for me to pick like favorites, but I'll just list them out. Piya Tu Ab To Aaja, Ab Jo Mile Hai To, Chadti Jawani, Daiya Mein Ye Main Kahan Aap Hasi, Dilbar Dil Se Pyare, and Kitna Pyara Wada. Those are the big ones, and I can't believe all of these fit in one album soundtrack. It's incredible how this like RD Burman did all of this in just one freaking soundtrack. It's crazy. It's funny though, all of these are great tracks, but Daya Mein Ye Main Kahan Aap Hasi is supposedly the song that Asha Parekh is supposed to improvise because she does not know how to sing and dance, and it's the most difficult song to sing because it's everywhere. Like, it shifts pitches, it goes to different octaves and goes around and then comes back and has the verse and the chorus. It's just nuts. It's if you watch Indian Idol like I do every year, this is like one of those songs that a seasoned contestant will sing to impress the judges. It's incredibly difficult to sing live because it goes everywhere and you have to be very sure where your next scale is coming from because it does not stay in the same lane altogether. And it's so it's funny that Asha Parekh's character Sunita, who cannot sing and dance, is singing this as her improv song and it's going everywhere. So yeah, it's funny to see that. Asha Bhosle is just ruling this soundtrack altogether, man. It's like Piyatu and Ab Jo Mile Hai To, and then Daiya Ye Main Kahan Aap Hasi. Just amazing. Yeah.
Amrita?
Yeah, everything that Sujoy said. I think my favorite is actually Dilbar because I've been listening to that song my whole life, it seems like. And it's just everything about it, the voice, the tune, the dance, the choreo, everything is just perfect in my opinion. And obviously all the other songs are just great. Like, even like when they suddenly start singing Goriya Kahan Tera Desh, when the karma is like on its way, I'd forgotten that song is in this movie. And it was like, it's not a skippable song. It's something that you listen from like beginning to end because it is so charming. I love the music in this film. Like 1100 on 10. Like I just love it.
We like Piya Tu Ab To Aaja is literally the cabaret song.
Yes.
And it's just like nuts that it also exists in this. Like, it's also exists in this soundtrack because it has so many great songs, Like, obviously, Monica, Oh My Darling, the movie got its title because it's here. Charti Jawani has a incredible remix, which was remix by, I think it was DJ Akil. It starred Nigar Khan in the 2000s. The video had like
Nigar Khan.
well,
A
like
blast from the past.
mannequins dancing with like angel feathers and stuff like that, I think. And they had, do you remember, this is such a throwback of that era, they had the last ketchup Asera hai ha
Yeah.
that bit was sampled into that remix. Oh man, yeah.
I remember that song. Oh my god, yeah, I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah, Charti Jawani is such a great track. Yeah.
Do you know that song? By the way, little random fact. The song is called the Ketchup Song. By the way, this was just Rapper's Delight, but they didn't know the lyrics.
Yeah, I know that.
It's like such a random thing, but it becomes such a massive hit. But it was basically Rapper's Delight from Sugar Hill Gang, and they just like made it a massive hit. Yeah. I mean, songs are great. I'd never heard that Asha Bhussain song. I never heard of it.
Which one?
But never ever. I thought it was amazing. I did think of Mela. Yes, but it was amazing. Like also
Sunita to Rupa.
Yeah, but it also made me weirdly think of that Farah Khan song in Main Hoon Na, where they're all in college.
Gori.
No, Hawaii.
Chale Jaise Hawaii.
Yeah, weirdly, in terms of the camera movement, the way it's so kinetic, she's doing different characters, it's moving from there to there, Jeetendra's kind of following, then it goes to the villains coming in. It just made me like, it's so connected that it made me think of that. But yeah, it's amazing. Pia too, like I said, I didn't know the song was in there, but obviously it's one of those stone cold classics. Any final thoughts, any random thoughts on Caravan that we haven't discussed that we want to talk about quickly?
I'll have to bring up the Banjara question, right? So this is a Banjara community, the travelers who travel through villages and all of that, set up tents. At one hand, they very much look down upon drinking, right?
Yes, they're very anti-alcohol, right?
Very, very anti-alcohol. Sanskar ke chithre ur gaye. And then on the other hand, like Manorama just burns this Madan Puri's lunch, and he's like belting her, like sabke samne, like he's just beating the shit out of her. I'm like, what the hell is going on in this movie?
Oh, and then like when Jeetendra tries to hit Asha Parekh, Madan Kumar is like, today I've seen that you are a demon. You are like beating a poor defenseless girl. And I'm like, wow, hypocrite much? Like, what the hell?
What's his name in the movie?
But only when you're sober. That's what the rules are. Don't beat her up when you're drunk, you know?
His name is Mithalal Tota.
Yeah.
That's such a Bollywood name, man.
But I just, again, where my brain goes, it reminded me of Salar. Remember Salar with Prabhas?
Yeah.
Where they're like a international crime conglomerate, but they're also very much loving democracy. And it's like these Banjaras are the same. Like, we're like all free-flowing things. The women can decide who they want to marry. She can bite anybody, but we also need our food on time. You know what I'm saying? And we're very anti-alcohol. So I was like, okay, the rules are a bit skewed in this universe a little bit. But I think it's also just set up for, that whole comedy bit of exchanging the dishes and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah.
Any other random note, Amrita, that you had?
Just how much I love this movie.
The drunk Asha Parekh scene was kind of like classic women getting really drunk and then finally saying things and everything being revealed, which was quite funny.
Which we also get to see in Kaho Na Pyare.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it sets the template now, these kind of things. I'm still laughing about the Asha Parekh running for 5 minutes and getting completely messed up. Like, when she falls over, the soles of her feet are still white, so she really didn't run far. Completely messed up.
And this also has that Bollywood trope of everything has been done and the police arrives at the last minute. my Baba used to always say, the police will always arrive at the last minute, and this movie is one of those.
Yeah. One thing I have to say, final thought really. The henchmen in this movie are really quite capable. Like, India is a big country. They find them every time. Like, everywhere they go, these guys find them. Like, what is this from the John Wick universe? And also, they're very sharply dressed. There was like 2 number wala, hai na? He's like actually quite well dressed. I was like, I like that jacket he's wearing. So, and also they have one has a red hair, like Mehendi henna hair, and he was also at the party, I think. So I was like, from party to henchman, he's like very. He's the one that says "Shadi karwa de, theek ho jayegi." Yeah. Chalo, that was Caravan. Unless you guys had anything, I think we're done. Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you, Turtle Pirate. I hope we did justice to the movie you picked. We're going to be doing January picks now too, actually. We're mid-January. So if you're on Patreon, you can pick a movie. We'll put up the poll, see what people are picking, and kind of discuss that. After this episode, it's going to be 80s for 15 episodes. So I'm really, really excited for that. Come and join us for a Dhamaka series. Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Blue Sky and on Twitter at Amrita IQ.
Sujoy?
I'll have one last note to add. This movie did not win the Filmfare Award for Best Music Director. Can you guess which movie won?
I don't know.
It's a Raj Kapoor movie.
Mera Naam Joker.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, okay. I mean,
makes sense.
Yeah, that was like good music.
Also, like I saw Aruna Irani was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and she also did not win.
No.
So I was like, what? And
Asha Parekh won for Piya Tu Ab To Aaja.
Yeah.
Oh, but you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram and TikTok at 93K. And you can follow Khandaan Podcast on all our socials at Khandaan Podcast.
Drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com, as if, like me, you were unaware of Caravan being a movie.
These songs just existed in the ether.
They just popped up and were part of our genetics. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with a new episode soon.
Khandaan Podcast, always acting. Girl, you're Macha,